everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are focusing on cats.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, their mating behaviors and the very important topic of neutering.
Right.
We're going to be taking all our information today from an article by 4Pod SOS International.
Okay.
They're an animal welfare organization. And just to kind of kick things off here with a fun fact.
Yeah.
Did you know that those really dramatic cries that you hear during mating season?
Uh-huh.
The ones that you think are these love songs.
Right, yeah.
Those are actually battle cries from competing males.
That's right, yeah. It's not the, the sweet nothings that we think it is.
Yeah, it's not romantic at all.
It's all very strategic, and they are definitely, there's a lot of competition going on.
So as cat lovers, we should really, try to understand this whole process.
Yeah.
Especially if we're going to be responsible owners.
Absolutely.
So let's get into this.
Okay.
What exactly goes on during this whole multi-day feline drama?
Well, it all starts with the queen.
Yeah,
That's what we call the female cat.
Yeah.
And she signals her readiness with a scent that she lets out.
Okay.
And that attracts a lot of suitors.
Gotcha. So multiple males will come to her.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And so that's where the competition really heats up.
And does the male whose territory it is have any kind of advantage?
He does have a slight advantage.
Okay.
But it doesn't deter other males from coming in and trying their luck.
Oh, wow. So it's like a feline dating app, but gone wild.
Exactly.
But how does the female choose? I mean, she can't exactly swipe right.
Right. She has her own feline way.
Okay.
She will actually lash out at the males who approach too quickly.
Really?
So it's like a test of patience.
Wow.
The winner is the one who can approach her gradually and with respect.
It's almost like saying, hold your horses, Romeo. I had no idea there was so much strategy involved.
It really kind of overturns that stereotype. The cats are just passive.
Yeah.
They're actually making a choice.
Okay.
A deliberate choice.
Interesting.
And once she makes that choice, things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Because during mating, the male actually bites the female's neck.
Whoa. Okay. That sounds kind of rough.
It does sound a bit rough, but it's totally normal.
Okay.
And it serves a purpose.
Okay.
It might seem aggressive, but it's actually similar to how mother cats discipline their kittens.
Oh, interesting.
They keep them still.
So a mother cat will bite the back of the kitten's neck to keep it still.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in this context with the mating, it helps the male kind of maintain his position.
Wow. That's a really interesting parallel.
Yeah. Nature is full of surprises.
So we've been talking all about, this kind of intricate mating process, but why is it so important to understand this as a cat owner?
Well, because allowing those natural instincts to just play out can have serious consequences.
Okay.
For the cat themselves, but also for the community.
So even though this behavior is natural, we shouldn't just let it happen.
Exactly. For instance, those unmet sexual urges lead to a lot of stress for your cat.
Okay.
Both physically and mentally. And for female cats, it can result in some pretty serious health problems.
Oh, wow. Like what?
Like uterine diseases. And that's really just scratching the surface.
So there's health implications for the individual cat, but what about the community?
Well, here's where things get really important.
Okay.
Imagine if your beloved cat was at a much higher risk of deadly diseases simply because they weren't neutered. That's the reality.
Okay.
They're far more likely to roam looking for mates, and then that increases their chances of getting into fights,
Right.
contracting diseases, and even getting lost or injured.
So they're taking unnecessary risks by going out looking for a mate.
Exactly. And there's also the issue of overpopulation.
Right.
When there are too many cats,
Yeah.
it puts a strain on resources,
Okay.
creates a breeding ground for diseases.
And the article mentions some specific diseases, didn't it?
Yeah, they did.
That were particularly nasty.
Yeah. Leukosis, FIP, and feline panleukopenia.
Right. And those can be really devastating for cats.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's not just about the individual cat. It's about all cats in the community.
The entire feline population. Exactly.
And that's why neutering is so important.
Yes.
It's a really crucial part of being a responsible pet owner.
Absolutely. It's about protecting not just your cat, but all cats.
So we talked about how it's important, but should all cats be neutered?
Ideally, yes.
Okay. So indoor cats too.
Even if they're cuddling on the couch all day.
Okay. And is there a best age? When should we do it?
They can actually be neutered as young as 3 to 4 months old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we really need to debunk the myth that a cat needs to have at least one litter.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
It's not true. Pregnancy has no benefits.
Okay.
And early neutering is better for their health and well-being.
So early neutering is better for their health.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Now, the article also mentioned feral cats specifically. Why is neutering so important for them?
Well, because if you leave them unchecked, their populations can explode.
Oh.
And that can have a big impact on the ecosystem.
So we're talking like a ripple effect on the whole area.
Exactly.
Okay.
It leads to more competition for resources.
Okay.
And the spread of diseases to other wildlife.
So it's not just about protecting the cats, it's about protecting other animals as well.
The whole environment.
Yeah. This is starting to sound pretty complicated. How do we even start to manage feral cat populations?
Well, that's where trap neuter return comes in.
Okay.
Or TNR.
TNR, okay.
And these programs humanely trap the cats, neuter them, and return them to their colony.
So it's like a more targeted approach to managing the population.
Exactly. It's a humane alternative to just removing them or euthanizing them.
Okay.
And it's proven to be effective.
So TNR can really help reduce the number of feral cats.
Yeah, it really can.
Yeah.
And it minimizes the negative impact on them and the environment.
So neutering, whether we're talking about our own cats or feral cats, really is a big part of responsible pet ownership.
Yeah.
And animal welfare in general.
It is. It's about understanding their needs.
Yeah.
And making sure they're taken care of.
And before we move on to part 2, I'd like to hear from you, the listener.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered the ethics of these TNR programs?
Right.
What do you think about them? Do you think they're effective? Do you have any concerns? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so do some research, form your own opinion, and we'll be back soon to discuss this more in part 2.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back, everyone. So I hope you had a chance to maybe think about those TNR programs.
Yeah.
It's definitely a topic that causes a lot of debate.
Yeah.
But, I think that's good because having different opinions can help us really understand things better.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting how such a simple concept,
Yeah.
Like just managing these feral cat populations. It can be so nuanced when you start thinking about all the different people involved.
So let's unpack some of those viewpoints. What are some of the arguments in favor of TNR?
One of the biggest arguments is that it's a humane approach.
Okay.
People who are really into TNR, they really advocate for treating these animals ethically.
Okay.
They say these are sentient beings. They deserve compassion.
Right.
And just getting rid of them or euthanizing them, that's not a good solution.
That makes sense. I mean, it fits in with this whole idea of animal welfare.
Right.
But I imagine there are some people who are concerned about whether it's really effective.
Yeah, that's a question that comes up a lot. And the research suggests that it can be effective over time.
Okay.
You break that breeding cycle. And you gradually start seeing fewer cats.
Okay, so it's not a quick fix.
No, it's more of a long-term strategy.
And it gets to the root of the problem.
Exactly.
But what about their impact on the environment? We talked before about how when they breed uncontrollably, it can mess things up. So does TNR address that concern?
Well, that's where things get a little more interesting.
Okay.
Because some people say that TNR doesn't go far enough to protect other animals.
Okay.
Like native wildlife.
Oh, okay.
For example, they point out that even cats who are neutered, they still hunt.
Right.
So that could affect bird populations.
So even though there are less cats overall, they can still have an impact.
Exactly. It's this balancing act.
Yeah.
There are valid points on both sides.
Okay.
But people who support TNR, they often say that habitat loss and things that humans do are a much bigger threat to wildlife than cats.
So it sounds like there's no easy answer here.
No, it's not black and white.
You have to weigh all the different sides.
Right. You got to look at all the perspectives, try to find a solution that, causes the least amount of harm.
And that's really what we've tried to do today.
Yeah.
Give you the information and the perspectives so you can figure things out for yourself.
Because this is a real issue. It has real consequences.
For cats and for where they live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it comes down to making good decisions for the well-being of everyone involved.
So as we get ready to wrap up part 2, what's one thing that's really sticking out to you?
Well, for me, it's realizing that there's always something new to learn.
Yeah.
Even with cats.
Yeah.
There are things you don't think about at first.
We have to be open to those different perspectives.
Yeah, and question our assumptions.
It's about coming at it with curiosity and compassion.
Right, and realizing that there are a lot of different valid viewpoints.
That's a good point. We've talked about cat mating and neutering.
Yeah.
And this whole TNR thing. But we want you to keep thinking about it.
Absolutely. Do your research.
Maybe check out some TNR programs where you live.
Yeah.
Maybe volunteer at a shelter. Yeah. Talk to other cat people.
Right.
The more we understand, the better we can help these animals.
Absolutely.
So keep learning, and we'll see you back here for part 3. We've learned a lot, haven't we?
We have.
About cat mating and why it's so important to neuter them.
Right.
Both our cats at home and the feral cats out there.
Yeah, it's more than just, feeding them and petting them.
Right.
You got to understand their needs.
You really do.
Make informed decisions and advocate for them.
And speaking of advocating for them, you mentioned how even neutered cats still have those instincts, like hunting.
Oh, yeah. They still have that wild side.
It makes you wonder how we can balance their instincts with protecting other animals.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
We bring them into our homes, but they still have that wild spark.
Right.
That's what makes them so interesting.
It does.
But it definitely creates some challenges.
It's like we're always trying to find that balance, between their needs and the needs of the environment.
You got it.
But maybe that's part of why we love them so much.
Maybe.
It makes us think differently, see things from different perspectives. Right.
And constantly learn and adapt.
I think you're right. It's that constant learning that makes us better caretakers.
For all animals. So it's time to wrap up our deep dive on feline mating and neutering.
Okay.
And how to deal with those feral cat populations.
It's a complex issue.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we've given you the information.
Yeah.
And hopefully some new perspectives so you can keep learning about it on your own.
Definitely keep the conversation going.
This isn't just about, taking in information. It's about using it.
Absolutely.
Talk about it. Advocate for these animals.
Yeah, make a difference.
So keep learning, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.